If you've ever tried to will yourself to just let it go, you know it's not easy. In fact, sometimes telling ourselves or being told by others to move on only makes us feel worse, like we're failing some simple task. But letting go is not a simple task for the human brain. There are deep-seated reasons we struggle. Some are evolutionary, some are neurological, some are psychological. Let's explore a few of the big culprits that make releasing the past so challenging. The brain's default to the past, the DMN and rumination. Have you ever noticed that your mind wanders back to old memories or worries when you're not busy? That's partly thanks to a brain network called the default mode network, DMN. The DMN is a circuit of brain regions, including the medial prefrontal cortex and posterior cingulate cortex, among others, that becomes active when we're not focused on an external task. Essentially, when our mind is at rest, it defaults to internal thoughts. Often those thoughts are self-referential. We mull over our problems, our regrets, and our social interactions. An overactive DMN is linked to rumination, the repetitive replaying of negative thoughts. When you're trying to let go of something, the DMN can be a pesky foe. It keeps pulling you back into that mental movie of what happened and how awful I feel about it. In fact, research has found that people with depression, who characteristically ruminate a lot, have hyperactivity in the default mode network. It's like their brains get stuck in story loop mode, thinking about flaws, fears, and hurts. So, one reason letting go is hard is that our brain's idle setting can trap us in the past. It takes conscious effort to break out of the DMN spell and redirect our attention to the present or a new perspective. Mindfulness meditation, by the way, is one tool that has been shown to decrease DMN activity, thereby reducing rumination. We'll talk later about using mindfulness to combat this. But the key point, our brains have a natural tendency to wander and cling to personal narratives, which can make it hard to simply drop a painful narrative. It's not just you, it's your brain's wiring. Fear and the amygdala. Better safe than sorry. Imagine you touch a hot stove once, you get a terrible burn. Next time you're near a stove, you feel a jolt of fear. That's your brain's amygdala at work, a pair of almond-shaped clusters deep in the limbic system that encode emotional memories, especially fear. This is an adaptive trait. It kept our ancestors alive to remember that fire equals danger. So when we experience emotional pain or trauma, the amygdala similarly encodes that memory with a red flag. This is dangerous, never forget. Let's say you were betrayed by a close friend. The next time you even think about trusting someone, your brain might unleash anxiety or suspicion. The amygdala is basically yelling, "No! Don't let go of that hurt! Remember what happened last time! We need to stay on guard!" This fear conditioning is a huge reason we hold on to past pains. The brain treats them like lessons for future survival. From an evolutionary standpoint, it made sense. Those who remembered dangers, the faces of adversaries, the location of threats, were more likely to survive. Psychologists call it a negativity bias. Negative experiences get encoded more strongly than neutral or positive ones because they carry potential threats. So we're wired to not let go of pain easily. Our ancient brain thinks it's keeping us safe by holding on to these memories and the accompanying fear or anger. This is why forgiveness or moving on can feel unsafe or wrong to us on a gut level. Part of our brain interprets letting go as lowering our shield, potentially exposing us to repeat harm. And indeed, as one author put it, that's why just move on is a myth. When you walk away, you're not just making a choice, you're rewiring your entire system, which initially feels unsafe to your nervous system because it's used to the protective vigilance. Understanding this can give us more self-compassion. If you're struggling to let go, it might be because your brain's fear center is overreacting, like a smoke alarm that goes off even for burnt toast. Part of the work, as we'll see, is gently training your amygdala that it's okay to stand down. Habit loops and the basal ganglia, stuck in a routine. Sometimes holding on isn't about a single memory or fear, it's about a habit. For example, you might have gotten into a habit of checking your ex's social media every night, or habitually clenching with anger every time you think of a colleague who wronged you. These repetitive behaviors and thought patterns become ingrained, and the brain region largely responsible for ingraining habits is the basal ganglia, particularly a part of it called the striatum. The basal ganglia is like the brain's autopilot center. It links cues to routines to rewards. Over time, it can store habits of thought and emotion, not just physical habits. So, if every time you feel lonely, you start automatically reminiscing about your lost relationship, that's a habit loop. Loneliness is the cue, nostalgic or regretful thinking is the routine, and maybe the reward, as strange as it sounds, is a familiar feeling of sadness that you've grown accustomed to. Anne Graybiel, an MIT neuroscientist, noted that many everyday movements become habitual through repetition, but we also develop habits of thought and emotion. This might explain why, even when you decide to let something go, you find yourself dwelling on it. Your brain has literally wired that loop to fire automatically. And additionally, the more we repeat a thought, e.g., I was wronged, the more those neural circuits strengthen. It's the classic neurons that fire together, wire together. This can lead to repetitive and intrusive thoughts that feel out of our control. Breaking these habit loops requires conscious effort and replacement behaviors. We'll cover that in the behavior change stage. But it helps to know, part of you holding on is not you being weak-willed. It's an ingrained circuit in your basal ganglia doing what it's designed to do, repeating patterns. We have to teach it a new pattern, which takes time. The comfort and trap of identity fusion. Earlier, we mentioned identity. Here's where it can work against letting go. Humans are storytellers by nature. We build a sense of self around our life experiences. When a powerful event happens, a trauma, a big failure, a passionate romance, it often becomes a core chapter in our life story. There's a concept in psychology sometimes termed identity fusion or over-identification, especially studied in trauma survivors. It's when someone's identity becomes fused with the experience. For example, someone who went through a difficult war might see themselves entirely as a veteran defined by that war. It colors every aspect of how they see themselves and how they relate to the world. Or someone cheated on in a relationship might internalize a belief, I'm the betrayed person, or I'm the one who can't trust anymore. In a way, the pain becomes an old friend, not a nice friend, but a familiar presence that gives shape to one's identity. Letting it go would create a void. If I'm not that hurt, angry person, then who am I? This can be terrifying on a deep level. One article on trauma over-identification described it as when a trauma becomes an anchor in your life story, with pervasive thoughts, actions, and emotions continuously reflecting the traumatic event, making it difficult to move on. We might gravitate towards situations that reinforce that identity, even subconsciously, because it's what we know. For instance, always bringing up the injustice in conversation or defining our worldview through that lens. So, letting go often means not only releasing the emotion, but also daring to redefine oneself beyond that story. Understandably, people resist that because it involves grief, grieving the old narrative, and uncertainty. What new narrative will replace it? The sunk cost fallacy of identity comes in here too. We've invested so much emotion and time into this story, we feel we can't drop it. In decision-making, sunk cost bias is when people persist with a bad investment because they've already spent so much on it. Similarly, we sometimes persist with a painful identity or relationship because we've invested our very self into it. Cognitive biases, sunk costs, and beyond. Speaking of sunk costs, our thinking habits also conspire against letting go. The sunk cost fallacy is a prime example. Psychologically, once we've invested time, effort, or love into something, we are biased to continue clinging to it because we don't want that investment to seem wasted. This is why someone might stay in an unhealthy relationship, like, I've been with them for 5 years, I can't give up now. Or hold on to an unrealistic career dream far past its expiration, like, I went to law school for this, I have to make it work even if it's making me miserable. Our brains miscalculate, prioritizing what we've already lost over what we could potentially gain by moving on. Another bias is loss aversion. We fear loss more strongly than we value gain. letting go often involves a perceived loss of the person, of the grievance that oddly empowers us, of the familiar pain. So we avoid it. There's also just world belief, like, this shouldn't have happened, it's not fair, which can trap people in anger, trying mentally to right a wrong that happened by not letting it go. And let's not forget simple ego and pride. Sometimes we hold on to resentment because a part of us isn't ready to forgive or be vulnerable again. It feels like conceding or like risking being hurt. And indeed, evolutionary advantages of not letting go, at least temporarily. It sounds strange. How could not letting go be advantageous? But consider our ancestors. If something traumatic happened, say a dangerous predator attacked at a certain watering hole, it was useful to remember that vividly and feel fear so they'd avoid it in the future. Even socially, if someone in the tribe betrayed you, holding a grudge could protect you from trusting them again and getting harmed. So our tendencies to cling to negative experiences have roots in survival. One evolutionary psychology idea is that remembering pain is protective. It's your brain's way of trying to prevent future pain. Even emotions like grief or sadness have signals to your community, I need support, and may ensure you don't forget a lost loved one, which had social bonding implications in tight-knit communities. Anger and resentment can be energizing emotions that, in the short term, assert dominance or boundaries. Think of how anger might deter transgressors in a primal setting. So, some researchers point out that these negative emotions and our reluctance to drop them had roles in our evolutionary past. Of course, in the modern world, this can overshoot. We're not usually dealing with life or death tribal betrayals or predators in the bush, yet our brain sometimes reacts as if we are. We end up with chronic stress and broken relationships because these mechanisms overserve their purpose. But recognizing that there's an ancient brain at play can help reduce self-blame. It's not that you're weak for not moving on. In fact, your brain thinks it's protecting you by not moving on. Our job now, with the help of science and conscious practice, is to gently educate our brain on where those ancient instincts are no longer needed. Take a breath. That was a lot of theory. To summarize in plain language, letting go is hard because your brain is designed to hold on to important, especially bad, experiences. We ruminate by default, we fear re-injury, we fall into comfortingly familiar habits of pain, and we even wrap our identities around what hurt us. But here's the hopeful flip side. Once we recognize these forces, we can counteract them. The same brain that holds on can also learn to let go. It just needs training and new experiences to reassure it that it's safe to release the past. It may be hardwired to remember, but it's also hardwired to learn and adapt. In the next part, we'll leverage this adaptability. We'll outline a step-by-step, science-backed path for retraining your brain and mind to finally let go. Think of it as a journey of rewiring and renewal. And as we go through these stages, you'll start to see how each one directly addresses the challenges we just discussed. Ready for the how-to? Let's dive into the practical neuroscience of truly letting go.